Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
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 Good day again, St. Lucia, and welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name is Phillip Sydney, your host. Today with me is Dr. Felix Jaria, who is the Director of Agricultural Services in the Department of Agriculture, in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources, and Cooperatives, along nomenclature. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks. Well,
Dr. Jaria, I know the ministry or your department is doing a lot in the Department of Agriculture, but I think people out there probably would like to know, the government policies that drives your projects and programs when it comes to your annual work programs. I know the ministry sometime last year or years ago, it was a top-down effect where the ministry would come up with policies to guide the way forward. They took a different approach last year where they went to the farmers and, of course, the public at large had many meetings around the island to understand exactly what it is that those institutions would like to see included in your work program. Can you take us through this and see where we are at now and give us the whole ballpark?
all right. Thank you, Mr. Sydney. Well, as you rightly said, it was last year we conducted a series of sessions, consultations with various groups around the island to ascertain what they would like to see as part of the agricultural program, agricultural policy, and a number of very, very needs-based suggestions and ideas came through. We were able to group them together into 11 policy objectives. The first one being diversification. There's a need to diversify around bananas. The second policy objective, which came in subsequent, is the development of bananas as a policy objective. We also have the food import bill, enhancing the national food import bill. National food security and reducing the food import bill, agro-processing and agribusiness, marketing development. We also have strengthening of institutions, agricultural institutions across the board, increased youth and women in agriculture, effective management and utilization of fisheries resources, disaster risk management, and the other one is protection, conservation, and sustainable utility of natural resources. So these are the 11 broad policy objectives for the Ministry of Agriculture. As you would well realize that it would be difficult in any one year to capture in a meaningful way all of these 11 policy objectives. So as a result, our new PS has asked us to just target 3 or 4 of them for every 1 year.
That's right.
So that we get something tangible out of them. So for this year, we are targeting 4 policy objectives.
Which are the 4?
The 4 policy objectives that we are targeting this year are agricultural diversification. And we have a number of projects that are linked with that. We have also the resuscitation of the banana industry, or the revitalization of the banana industry. The aim is to increase banana production by 800 hectares over the next 4 years. And we're looking at producing about 70,000 tons of bananas by the end of the 4th year. The third policy objective that we are working with is the enhancing national food and nutrition security. Along with that, we have the reduction of the food import bill. So we've combined these two together as one. And the fourth objective is protection, conservation, and sustainable utility of natural resources, particularly with the forestry department, and also the fisheries department would be targeting that area. And we have combined this policy with disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. So we have encapsulated them into 4 broad objectives for this year. And we have, and as I said earlier on, we have a number of projects that are linked with each of these policy objectives.
It's a mouthful, eh?
Quite a bit.
But you know what's the one that really, and it's always been in the forefront of my cerebral cortex, we may call it that way, is the food import bill. How are you going to tackle it? Because I know last year we were still in the 340 million. But that is general. In terms of specification, in terms of agriculture, in terms of the commodities like you know, cabbage and this, how are you going to tackle it? How is your, for example, the extension division are going to tackle this?
Okay, that's an interesting question. The food import bill continues to rise, but as a small country, it's difficult to target a wide range of crops because they're very limited. For example, the issue of carrots, we import quite a bit of carrots, but can we produce carrots to the extent that we can sustain, we can provide it at a national level?
Yeah.
I don't think we can, but there are certain crops where we have comparative advantage. For example, we can produce all the lettuce in St. Lucia. We don't need to import
all
lettuce.
the cabbage too.
We can produce all the cabbages. We can produce all the tomatoes, right? All the sweet potatoes.
Exactly.
You know, there are about 8 or 9 different crops that we can comfortably produce and to sustain the food needs of St. Lucia.
All right.
The problem, however, is that as a ministry, we don't facilitate the scheduling of production very well.
Okay.
And there are multiplicity of reasons for that. We have countless number of very small farmers, and it's difficult to target all of these farmers and tell them, hey guys, this is what you need to do. We want you to produce crops within that window, that crop for that window, and for the another group of farmers, this crop in this window. It has become a little difficult. But I think as we mature, we are beginning to see a lot more cohesion in the way we approach the production scheduling of our various crops. And for this year, we are targeting specific crops to address the food import bill. And so the aim is to reduce particular crops over the year by a certain percentage.
So the target would be, as you mentioned, tomatoes, cabbage, you know, and cauliflower, and those high-end crops.
Yeah, these crops, because we have the capability and capacity to do it. And it's just that we need to be more consistent in the production, you know, because I see no reason why a hotel should import lettuce or cucumbers, for example. But
Jaria, there is also the situation where there are a number of farmers, seasonally they grow the stuff because they are rain-fed, all right? But then, are we able to capture those farmers? Are we able to capture the acreage that they produce? Because at that same time that they are producing, and that we know that we know those farmers produce in the rainy season, but yet still, you know, the hotels and other agencies are importing at that time, so that you have a glut on the market. So the point is, how do you give those farmers the confidence? Is it that they're not telling the extension officers when they're planting, or is it the extension officers are capturing it on its own by going around? Well,
I mean, it's probably a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Maybe as a ministry, we don't capture the data as well as we should. Maybe it's not well institutionalized. There isn't a rigid policy to say that, hey guys, you need to bring in this data and ensure that it's there. And it could be that some farmers deliberately don't share information for one reason or another. I mean, you've been an extension officer, you know that has obtained.
Exactly.
But farmers are beginning to realize the importance of this, because as we do farmer training and farmer certification, farmers realize the importance of records, providing information, so that all this helps the country in developing a more holistic program in terms of servicing our populace as well as the hotels and restaurants.
Okay, we're going to our first break, but when you come back, I'm also looking at how young entrepreneurs, young agricultural entrepreneurs, especially the Youth Agri-Entrepreneurial Program, can fit into that whole scenario. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
What is biodiversity?
When you look at biodiversity, it's all around.
I think of biological and I think of diversity.
What is biosafety?
Safety measures for our foods, our products, etc.
Biodiversity is the variety of life. Biosafety, on the other hand, involves the management of products of biotechnology, such as GMOs and LMOs. Biosafety seeks to protect St. Lucia's biodiversity. The terms biodiversity and biosafety are not interchangeable. Get familiar with these terms. Observe the biodiversity around you, the change in environment of food production and sustainable growth. Do your part. Visit our websites and stay tuned to this station for more information on the National Biosafety Framework.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. With me, Dr. Felix Jaria, who is the Director of Agricultural Services in the Department of Agriculture. Dr. Jaria, one of the things I suppose that could probably change that mindset in terms of record keeping, getting correct data or timely data, so that the marketing department can actually take decision in terms of, giving license for importation. Don't forget we're dealing maybe at the time with the older farmers, okay, and probably with new technology it might be a bit difficult and for them to really take in the data. The move is from the ministry is to get young people involved in agriculture, and that was for me the best move. That's a youth agri-entrepreneurial program. Tell us, where's that program? Because I mean, I know a lot about it. It's about 5 years plus. Where's that program as we speak?
Okay. For me, that's probably one of the best programs I think the ministry
totally agree with you.
Has initiated, where we train young people. The YAP project was like an incubator system where you train young people in various disciplines of agriculture, and then plow them back into the field.
That's right.
to utilize the knowledge and technical skills that they have acquired. That project was sponsored by government as well as by the Caribbean Development Fund. It has faced a number of challenges, a number of setbacks, but notwithstanding, the participants that are on this project, the first cadre of participants, are still with the project.
Yes,
75 persons were trained initially, but we have 67 participants that are still with the project. So far, we have 23 of them either in active production or in the process of. For example, currently we have 14 greenhouses. All of them by now would be under production. There are 6 of them at Beauséjour, 5 of them at Doré, and we have three private farmers, each of them having one, and all of them are in production. In fact, I took a tour last week to ascertain what's happening on the ground. So we have a number of young farmers involved. We also have some, we are now in the process of establishing the small ruminant pens, some broiler pens also for some of the participants. So there's a lot of work happening, though it is not very transparent or obvious in your face, so to speak. But there are a number of young persons involved, and the aim during the next financial year is to get the remainder of the participants deeply involved in the activities to really start off the enterprise. Now, one of the greatest constraints to the project is the young people getting access to funding.
Yes.
That has been a critical issue. I know prior to my time, Mr. Compton worked very hard in trying to dialogue with the Caribbean Development, St. Lucia Development Bank to assist in providing that kind of funding that is necessary. But somehow we stumbled across some hurdles, and as a result, we have not been able to get the requisite funding for the participants. So we have had to request from CDF, Caribbean Development Fund, to allow us to use some outstanding funds they have as a revolving fund,
seed money.
As seed money, to facilitate small loans to these farmers. We've just gotten the approval. We just have to work out the logistics through St. Lucia Development Bank, so that these young farmers would be able to get funds to develop their program. We hope that would be so successful that government would recognize the importance of plowing some more money, more seed money into the initiative, so that it can serve as a revolving fund for the greater cross-section of the participants to participate in it. The other important thing is that there's another cohort of participants, another 75 persons that we need to take on board. But from the lessons that we are learning, we are deciding to revisit that whole approach, and to select probably persons who are more capable of taking on the challenge for the next batch of participants.
That's good news with that seed money, because that was a huge hurdle for the youngsters, and they were frustrated. But I'm happy that so many of them remain.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and they are quite animated.
Yes.
You know, you talk to them,
yes.
and they all animated about the project and still wants to be an active part. So some have been doing other things, but always questioning, when are we getting it? When are we getting the funds?
And they keep coming to the ministry all the time.
Exactly.
Which is great. So the enthusiasm is still there.
And I must say, Ms. Adeline Udovic, who is the one coordinating the program currently, is doing a fantastic job in terms of, you know, keeping the momentum and doing everything she can to ensure that those that are on the ground and those that could get started get the opportunity to do.
So come next year, going back to the food import bill, if you'll work with those cadre of new farmers and you all are able to get the scheduling ongoing, then we can see results.
Yeah, certainly.
To at least lower that food import bill.
Exactly, because we will be targeting specific crops.
That's correct.
Right? We would be we'd be establishing a schedule for them.
That's right.
And because we are providing them the funding, or we're facilitating the funding,
monitoring,
we would dictate what we want, and we can monitor it better.
That's right.
And ensure that, especially from the greenhouse perspective, we can produce a constant supply of products to be sold to specific buyers.
That's right.
And the important thing is that the ministry is now looking at a central clearinghouse where they're looking at all products being sold to that clearinghouse, or that's the hub for which all products will be going.
Right.
So there is some light at the end of the tunnel if we pursue that route.
But in addition to the funding, which I'm happy that you just disclosed, I know some farmers, especially the aquaculture farmers, had serious problems with pre-deal last year.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so heart-wrenching when there's this young lady in Roseau, you know, she waiting. I mean, I think she was looking at maybe a good 1,000 pounds of tilapia. And when, after 6-7 months, she went to harvest, she just got a bucket.
Yeah.
Everything was harvested.
Yeah.
And that is really, really sad. So pre-larceny, of course, we know that because we have a pre-larceny unit. But something needs to be done. How that pre-larceny unit can be strengthened, so that, I'm not saying it might be difficult to police every farmer around the island, but I still believe that something can be done. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that's a question I've been giving some thought for some time. Maybe one of the possibilities is to have, just as we have the extension regions, is to have a pre-deal larceny officer attached to, or have access to that unit, that office, so that they can liaise with the extension officer on a more regular basis. I know there are some officers, but they are in one location, and the ability to move from site to site is quite difficult. Right. Again, I guess the limitation of funds mitigates against having to to have persons stationed at each location. The other issue is the lack of transportation to take these officers from place to place. But it's been a challenge.
I know.
The other thing we can do is to ensure that persons who sell the products, whatever products, have some form of identification. We have tried the farmer.
Well, hold that thought, because you're going to a break. We'll continue that after the break. We're watching Agriculture on the Move. We are due for another break. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Our agriculture can be threatened when persons or travelers bring with them foreign plants or animals into our country. Please check with the Crop Protection Unit at telephone number 468-5601 or 450-2375 or the Veterinary Services Division at 468-5621, who will advise you as to what is allowed into the country.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for viewing and thanks for being patient to come back to the program. Dr. Jaria, Larceny, I would like to continue on it, because we need to strengthen that unit. Because, I mean, if you go around the country and you speak to farmers, there are a number of farmers who have left farming as a result of Larceny.
I'm very much aware of that.
I mean, this, the thing is, we're talking about food security.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we need to take this very seriously. I know the Honorable Minister, Ezekiel Joseph, is very, very serious about it. I know he met with the unit and they made some pronouncements in terms of, you know, working at the regional level. My own thing is that because of, you know, lack of resources, I'm thinking here maybe, you know, the police departments can come on board, because you have various police stations around the island. There can be some linkage, because if transportation is a problem, I can see a collaboration between the extension officers and the police, together with the pre-Larceny officer, to see how quickly they can, you know, apprehend persons and to get them to court, because that's a serious issue.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, as I reflect on the young persons, you know, they've worked so hard.
Exactly.
You know, and put so much effort, and the first crop, you expect them to at least feel a measure of satisfaction.
That's the point.
And the fact that they are unable to is very frustrating. And yes, and the point I was trying to make prior to the break was that I think the persons who sell products should have some form of identification. And I know the ministry has been working with certifying farmers.
That's right.
So each farmer who has gone through the training do have some form of identification. But it's not island-wide.
That's right.
The aim is to make it island-wide, so that at least we have a form of identification. It's more like the driver's license. So as long as you're a driver, you have a license. So as long as you're a seller of agricultural products, you have some form of ID.
That's right.
That you can be stopped at any time and asked to be shown. And if that cannot be provided, then some intervention can be made. But for me, it's a national problem. It's not an agricultural problem. It's a national problem.
But however, I must hasten to say, the pre-Larceny unit, with their limited resources, have done a tremendous job in getting a lot of matters to court. I mean, sometimes you'll hear that on the news. What you know, they have made some. So they have done some work. I must say, but they need to be strengthened. They need to get some resources. They need to get transportation, and maybe get more of those officers on board. Again, that takes resources. The other thing, people must be careful, especially those persons who would want to buy cheap commodities out there. Apart from the loss of revenue from the farmer, there's a health risk to this. And we must understand this. This farmer may just have had sprayed a chemical, you know, a pesticide, which is supposed to have a residual effect, and it's supposed to take before another 14 days for harvesting. You go and you harvest this thing, especially those leafy vegetables, you know, those that are uncooked, okay? and you consume this thing, you don't know what's going to happen to you. As a result of this, you know the amount of cancers we have in this country? Where probably it originated, we don't know. Maybe it's from there because those chemicals are hazardous.
I think that's a point that needs to be reiterated because, I mean, you're taking in a large volume of chemicals beyond the required
dosage, yes.
And so that can have an
serious
impact
debilitating effect on your health.
So
yes.
my appeal to our population is that we avoid purchasing
from unknown sources.
From unknown sources.
Yes.
Particularly when they look questionable, because you don't know the history of the crop. And it's important, especially as it relates to vegetables.
Exactly. Especially there's a litmus test. When, for example, you know, for example, the sweet pepper, the yellow one, the bell one. This is sold up at $15 to $20 a pound. Yeah. When a guy comes to you and he sells it to you for $5, something is wrong.
Yeah, something has to be wrong.
Something has to be wrong. So, but it's a deal. You will take it, but then you have consequences to be faced down the road. So it is serious. But Jaria, hastening forward, apart from the pre-larceny, can you list for us other constraints that really, really affect agriculture?
Okay, well, we alluded to one earlier on, and that is the credit facilitation.
Yes.
The banking facilities are kind of reluctant to give loans to agricultural enterprises. Because it's risky, one, and from the history of the banks,
they're taking blows.
Yeah, they're taking a lot of licks.
Yeah.
Now the problem is, how do we select or how do we improve a scenario like that? Now I know CFL and Library Credit Union has a model that works. For example, at CFL provides small loans to farmers, and then they're able to recoup. As CFL is able to recoup 99.9% of the money loaned to farmers. They're able to recoup that. Now that's remarkable. And I know also that Library Credit Union is working with Black Bay Cooperative so that there is some form of synergy there that enables them to provide the funding to do the necessary work, and then the credit union is able to recoup. Maybe it's time that the ministry or the government looks at a scenario where they can provide some seed money to SLDB or the credit union,
yes.
or the credit league,
yes.
So that some kind of model can be developed to facilitate the provision of loans to particularly
I think it's monitoring, Jaria, because I know, for example, if SLDB gives monies to build a house, all right, they don't give you all the money one time. There's certain aspects, for example, phase one, if it's foundation. So you do the same thing with the farmer. For example, if it needs clearing, it's going to take you $100. Then you clear, you get your $100, and you move on, plowing, and that's it. So you do not give him, if he needs $20,000, you give him $20,000 at any one time.
Right.
So I think it's monitoring they need to do, and then that should take us. But Jaria, we have only 1 more minute left for the program.
Wow.
So it's gone very quickly. Final words from you.
Well, I mean, there's much that can be said, but I think agriculture is the mainstay of our country.
Definitely.
And I think we need to provide greater support to our farming community to ensure that we produce food so that our people can eat,
That's right.
so that we can be healthy.
That's right.
And from our end, we are working towards that.
That's great. Okay, Dr. Jaria, thank you for coming onto the program. And I know your plate is full. I know you have limited resources, and I'm hoping that, come this year, this financial year, or things are going to be seen, the young people are going to be energized, and of course we're going to see results, because we need to feed our people and we need to bring down our food import bill. So thank you very much, and I wish you success.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
You've been watching Agriculture on the Move with my guest, Dr. Felix Jaria, who is the Director of Agricultural Services in the Department of Agriculture. Thank you for viewing. Remember, agriculture is our business, and eat fresh. St. Lucia's best. Thank you again for viewing. I'm Phillip Sydney. Goodbye.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.